Welcome and please be seated. For many, commencement marks a symbolic passage from the sheltered shoals of childhood to the exhilarating but potentially treacherous high seas of adulthood. It's a time of new beginnings, a time of great anticipation and excitement, but also a time fraught with uncertainty, particularly this year, as I know you don't need to be reminded. As human beings, there is something about uncertainty that unsettles us. We are apt to associate the indefinite with chaos and confusion, with formlessness and fear. We fear what we do not know, and we are sometimes driven to distraction by our not knowing, by uncertainty. Indeed, it is not uncommon for us to go to extreme lengths to avoid uncertainty. And yet, for all the time and energy we invest in evading and deriding the unknown, some part of us as a species must also feel an instinctual and vital dependence on uncertainty. Uncertainty, like it or not, pervades our worldview. Whether we look at uncertainty from the perspective of physics and mathematics, philosophy, art, or religion, the formlessness and indeterminism associated with uncertainty are also inextricably and powerfully tied to creation, to creativity, to commencement. The creation stories of our world religions, for example, depict a tension between uncertainty and an ordered cosmos. At the heart of Big Bang cosmology, which is the physics of the universe's creation, lies the mathematics of none other than Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which allows for and describes a universe brought into being as a result of quantum fluctuations from seeming nothingness. Even poet Robert Frost, pondering uncertainty, wrote, "Let chaos storm, let cloud shapes swarm. I wait for form." What is essential to all of these points of view is simply this: without uncertainty, there is no possibility, no form, no creation, no commencement. While uncertainty may be difficult and uncomfortable for us at times, my hope for us today on your commencement is that rather than being paralyzed and blinded by the fear of not knowing, we can instead embrace uncertainty as a blessing. When we feel ourselves becoming overwhelmed by what we do not know or cannot control, when we feel small, alone, or simply stymied by the overwhelming enormity of our universe, I hope that we will choose to see boundless possibility in uncertainty. Our lives and journeys are fibers in an infinite tapestry whose patterns are woven on a loom of uncertainty. May we allow ourselves to be wrapped in this tapestry, to take comfort in our interconnection, to find opportunity in what we do not know, and through the blessing of uncertainty, to create and to commence.
A reading from Micah, chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. With what shall I come before the Lord, and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. Here ends the lesson.
A reading from Hebrews, chapter 11, verses 1 through 3. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. This is what the ancients were commended for. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Here ends the lesson.
Please stand for the Ashley Hall prayer. And join in saying it. Grant, O Lord, to all teachers and students to know that which is worth knowing, to love that which is worth loving, to praise that which pleases thee most, and to dislike whatsoever is evil in thine eyes. Grant us true judgment to distinguish things that differ, and above all, to search out and do what is well-pleasing unto thee. Amen. You may be seated.
As we have navigated unknown territories this year, we have had to grow and adapt to best transition into distance learning. This year, we as the class of 2020 have decided to donate funds to the technology department to fund innovative and educational technologies that will help future classes best adapt and excel in online learning. Furthermore, we have also decided to fund the planting of a live oak right here on Senior Lawn to replace the tree that we lost earlier this year and to enhance the beauty of a place on campus that is so dear to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Adelaide, and thank you to the entire class of 2020 on behalf of the board. We appreciate these gifts, but more importantly, on behalf of the board, we want to thank each and every member of this class for your resilience and your perseverance that all of you have exhibited during what have been frankly, some rocky and some uncharted waters that, of course, the whole world, but Ashley Hall has faced over the past few months. You know, when we face challenges like this, it either brings out the best in people or it brings out the worst in people. And by all accounts, in terms of the members of this class, the grace that you all have exhibited over the past few months, it's just a real testament not only to your character, but obviously to your parents, but also to the education that you've gotten here at Ashley Hall. I will tell you that on behalf of the board, we are so excited to watch the great things that the members of this class that you're going to accomplish in the years ahead. And each of you will accomplish great things. I can say that with confidence for a couple of reasons. Number one, as a graduate of Ashley Hall, you take that confidence that many, many women before you take away from this special place. There is no better K through 12 educational experience in terms of empowering young women to go out into the world knowing that you are capable of meeting any challenge that is in your path. But second, that spirit of resilience and perseverance that your class, of course, has become more than equipped in terms of firsthand knowledge of dealing with some challenges, that also bodes well for you. There will be many challenges in your lifetime. There will be many disappointments. But what I know is that the trait of resilience and perseverance that each of you has, it bodes well for how you will meet those challenges. So on behalf of the board, I simply would close by saying congratulations. You should be very proud of what you've accomplished. Good luck, Godspeed, and thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am truly honored to be speaking to you today. As we are all aware, this was never a given, and the ability to talk to all of you together like this one last time means more to me than I can possibly describe. I can remember in vivid detail the first time I ever set foot on this campus. The day I came to Shadow was about a quarter through the third grade, and at the time I was the quintessential homeschooled kid. My dress was definitely hand-sewn, and as some of you already know, went perfectly with the bonnet in the back of my closet. In all seriousness, though, I was terrified. The most exposure I had had to other kids my age was through homeschool groups and play dates with family friends. I'd never been responsible for making my own friends before, and I was scared it was a task I wasn't well suited for. Through all my fear, I never could have expected that day to be genuinely one of the happiest days of my life. I can't really explain it, but above anything else, this campus was warm. Everyone smiled when they saw me and seemed genuinely excited to talk to me, and I felt welcomed in a way that made me completely forget how nervous I had been. My parents let me decide where I wanted to go to school, and that night I made a Venn diagram weighing the pros and cons of each school I had visited. In my heart, though, I already knew I would choose Ashley Hall. That warmth I had felt had already crept its way inside me, and all I knew was that I wanted to go back, to feel that warmth again. The years I've spent at Ashley Hall haven't been perfect, but without fail, the warmth I first felt has persisted. Through every late night spent writing page after page of APUSH outline or senior project reflection, through every subsequent morning of desperately trying to pay attention in class while running on 3 hours of sleep and pumped full of caffeine, I've never felt alone. Looking back on these memories, I feel comforted knowing that whatever we went through it together. Things have slowly, or in some cases quickly, changed around us, and things have rarely turned out exactly as we expected. We've changed, we've grown. Our little grade of 42 has ebbed and flowed, but we're still here, rooted to this spot. And even as we find ourselves spread out far from each other, I think a part of us will still remain here, or at least a part of us will remain together. I want to thank each and every one of you for giving me the opportunity to spend the last 10 years with this incredible group of people. You've all changed me more than I can ever describe, whether it's someone whose friendship I never knew I needed, someone who was there for me when I needed it most, or someone who's been there for me from the beginning. You've all made such a profound mark on my life, I find it hard to imagine not returning to you this fall. Truly, thank you. Thank you to the teachers and administration who have guided us. Thank you to the parents who have year after year allowed us to return to this incredible place. Thank you to all of my classmates who have made my time here so special, who created a community that I am proud I got to be a part of. Wherever we may go, we will always be together. Whatever the future holds for us, we will always remain connected to each other and to this place. We will always be the Ashley Hall class of 2020. Thank you.
To be perfectly honest, I wasn't quite sure where to begin with this speech. While capturing the high school experience of over 40 different individuals is a daunting task in itself, I also wasn't sure how I would address the unfortunate end to our senior year. Part of me didn't want to talk about it at all because ultimately, the period from March 13th, our last day on campus, to May 24th, the original date of our graduation, does not accurately reflect our time at Ashley Hall. Talking about those 3 months alone wouldn't highlight our many conversations in the Shell House, the purple and white pep rallies held in the gym, or even running to the dining commons on Chicken Tender Day so that we wouldn't have to wait outside. Although I believe that those memories, and many others, represent our past at Ashley Hall, I think it's important to talk about how it all ended, because, in a way, I feel that it's representative of where we're going and how we'll use our experiences at Ashley Hall to change the world. In front of me, I see 41 of my role models, 41 people who inspire me every day to be the best version of myself. Our class is made up of 42 girls that are not only extremely intelligent and hardworking, but more importantly, 42 girls that possess an unimaginable amount of care and respect for one another. Although each one of us has different interests and goals, there is an evident appreciation among us for each individual that completes our class. To me, that's something really special about Ashley Hall girls, and what I think we can bring into this world to make it a better place. The last few months, we witnessed both a global pandemic and a widespread movement to end racial injustice in the United States. Undeniably, 2020 will be a year that we will be telling our children and grandchildren about far into the future. We are the ones witnessing these events unfold, and we are expected to become leaders in their wake. Especially as Ashley Hall alumni, it is our duty to be at the forefront and to use our education and experiences in high school to create meaningful change. Not only did we have the privilege to receive a phenomenal education from passionate teachers, but we were also given the opportunity to grow up in an environment that prioritized cultivating compassion and a spirit of collaboration. The values that Ashley Hall emphasized throughout the last 4 years are what we need to teach others as future doctors, nurses, lawyers, politicians, etc. My classmates can attest that a common question we were asked as students is, what legacy would you like to leave behind at Ashley Hall? Now, I think the question we need to start asking ourselves is, what legacy would you like to leave behind as an alumna of Ashley Hall? What are you going to do with the opportunities and education you received here to make a lasting impact? Soon, some of us in a mere few days will be moving on to life's next greatest challenge, college. As you leave behind your clogs and trade in your Panther pride for the Clemson Tigers or Carolina Gamecocks or wherever else you may be headed, don't forget to continue to inspire people as you have inspired me. Don't forget about where you came from and how PQV lives on within each of us, even when we're thousands of miles away from campus. While you're busy living out Carpe Diem, as Mr. Keating taught us in our favorite movie, Dead Poets Society, keep in mind the real power that you have to change the world. Now is only the beginning. Before I conclude, I would like to take a moment to express thanks for all the people who helped our class along the last 4 years. Thank you to our teachers who aided us around the Harkness table, supported us through challenging material, and encouraged us to grow into the people we are today. Thank you to the administration at Ashley Hall, who works so diligently every day to create both a safe and fun educational environment. Lastly, thank you to our parents, who worked incredibly hard to give us the opportunity to attend Ashley Hall, and who are our biggest fans in all aspects of our lives. Congratulations to the class of 2020. I leave you with this final quote from Nelson Mandela. We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make a difference.
How to even begin to talk about the high school class of 2020, a group of young people all over the world who had their lives forever transformed by a submicroscopic thing, a nucleic acid with a protein coat, something they studied perhaps at arm's length in their biology classes and now have come to know way too well. Coronavirus and the illness it causes, COVID-19, have regrettably become household words. They've been a part of our daily experience since last winter. But let's step away from that for a short time and talk more about the class of 2020 in the long view, and specifically about you girls seated here at Ashley Hall. Unlike the rest of us, you do not know a pre-9/11 world. You were born into a nation that was still reeling from that event, and you've grown up through a recession and a financial crisis. You live in a digital world that largely did not exist when even you were born. The America you know is dramatically different from the country we, your parents and teachers, knew in terms of attitudes and concerns about vigilance, safety, privacy, equity, and justice. Nowhere has that been more apparent than in the last few months, where we've both faced a global pandemic and wrestled with pain and grief associated with our nation's racial inequality. In last year's Acanthus, Maura quoted Thoreau in a piece that she wrote and saying, "What is the use of a house if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? If you cannot tolerate the planet it is on, grade the ground first." In other words, advises Thoreau, make certain the land is level, work hard to ensure it's even and firm, and then build a sturdy foundation. Our generation thought we were doing that, but I think many of us clearly see our failures and our shortcomings. Our hopes for the future lie in you. While many refer to you as millennials, you have most accurately been better described as part of Generation Z. As an aside, I've learned that, of course, Z was the logical designation for your cohort as you followed Generations X and Generations Y, who all had part of the word boomers in their name. You were the Zoom generation, the Zoomers, the Z generation. I don't know about you, but that has taken on a whole new meaning to me since March, being part of the Zoomer generation. More seriously, however, a distinguishing characteristic of Generation Z is having a great desire to change the world and make it a better place. And that has been precisely what your Ashley Hall education has been all about, guiding you through the steps to grade the land, as Thoreau suggests, and providing you with the tools and materials by which to overcome the challenges that life on this earth placed before you while you build your metaphorical home. We've been working to help you become educated women who are independent, ethically responsible, and prepared to meet the challenges of society with confidence. We know you will do big things. So how did the Ashley Hall class of 2020 get to this place today? Well, onto the Rutledge Avenue campus in the fall of 2004, Charlotte, Tolly, Sarah, Zoe, and Reese arrived as bubbly 2-year-olds. Ms. Muti, too, began her first year as your head of school, and immediately your education was impacted for the better. Your division was known as the ECC, and your teachers were Miss Tony, Miss Craig, and Miss Johnson. You had fun messing with shaving cream and Play-Doh, dressing up and playing house, experimenting with science, and you loved story time. Your big field trip was to Midas Muffler to watch the cars go up and down on the lift. I understand you were curious and fun, and maybe a bit testy at times. Tolly, did you know they nicknamed you the Nipper? You all were busy expanding your vocabulary, but you aren't always sure what those big words meant. Reese, what about the time you told Ms. Laney you couldn't swim because you had a cuticle? Over the course of the next 3 years, you were joined in Ross by Annika, Celie, Adelaide, and Meg. The ECEC was a magical place of exploration and adventure. You learned how to recognize your letters and your numbers in both English and French, I might add. You took strings. Your teachers and you staged fabulous Fridays, complete with candles and special snacks. As pre-K students, you learned lots about the globe and art, and you painted on the underside of tables in your classroom, like Michelangelo painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. The construction to enlarge Pardue Hall was underway that year, and you had to move cautiously as you walked to your swimming lessons with Ms. Laney, even if you had a cuticle. Out in the big world, while you were in EEC, the first iPhone came to market. YouTube was launched, and the social networking platforms of Twitter and Facebook were created. Closer to home, there was a big controversy that greeted the 135th edition of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus when it rolled into town in Greenville. Much was just beginning to be discussed about the potentially cruel treatment of animals behind the scenes at these popular events. But you were oblivious to all of that. You loved the circus for the fun family time and the special show. Well, all except Charlotte, who we understand was terrified of clowns. Are you still terrified of clowns, Charlotte? In 2007, you began kindergarten, and you were joined by Elizabeth, Olivia, Caden, Savannah, and Derazette. You were becoming very smart and observant. Already, 33% of the class of 2020 was on board at Ashley Hall. Under the direction of Mrs. Woodson, who played the guitar, you sang The Big Yellow Taxi and This Pretty Planet at every morning meeting, and you had much treasured trips to the school store to buy animal erasers. You had your first real touch of business enterprise when, after learning about shoes, you set up a fake store and you sold tiny plastic shoes to each other. You conducted a poll of some sorts and determined sandals were the most popular footwear on campus. Not much different today, is it? You made a cookbook for Thanksgiving. Savannah had turkey. Here we go. 1 cup flour, 2 slices of butter, 1 can of chicken broth, and 50 pounds of turkey. Wonder how that turned out. Celie had a recipe for pasta. 100 shakes of Parmesan cheese, 103 noodles, and a scoop of butter. Caden tried to make brownies. Flour, eggs, and chocolate, baked at 60 degrees for 7 minutes until the clock showed the right numbers and you took them out. I surely hope that all of you paid attention in the virtual cooking lesson that Mrs. Singh offered you in May, or you may need some help before you head to college. Mrs. Saunders accompanied you on lots of adventures. A December trip to Macby House, where Mr. Moody, Mrs. Moody's husband, taught you about holiday celebrations in Italy. An excursion to the aquarium where you presented the $624.28 that you raised to help 3 sick sea turtles. And an adventure with Fancy Nancy, the very popular picture book, and its main character the same name, the little girl who liked to use fancy words, especially French. You dressed like her in exotic clothes like boas and tutus and scarves and Mardi Gras beads and sunglasses and paraded around campus. I've seen pictures. Looks kind of like a non-uniform day. The fall of 2008, you entered 1st grade and you welcomed new classmates Midori, Meredith, and Maura. You built magical fairy houses. Right, Maura? You said you loved doing that. And a Zen garden. You became bird experts. Raise your hand if you still have one of your business cards. Derazette was known for always stopping to chat it up with her teachers. Ms. Pierce recalls that no matter what grade level she was in, she would stop, catch up, talk about her parents, her dog, Belle, Edisto. Sounds a lot like the same woman today. Adelaide and Midori were baby angels in the Christmas play. They still look that way, well, maybe with just a tinge of devilment in their eyes. In 2009, the class of 2020 arrived in August to begin 2nd grade. The John Rivers Library and the new upper school classrooms were opened, and you were thrilled to come to the new Storywell for reading. It was a wonderful year of celebration as Ashley Hall turned 100 years old. Under Ms. Moody's leadership, the school launched an ambitious fundraising campaign which allowed your Ashley Hall to continue to grow and expand to what it is today. You staged a 2nd grade play. While you may not recall the actual title, do you remember Tolly coming out on stage and belting, la la lay lay, lay lay lay, I'm sorry, la la lay, I made a mistake, in total freestyle? Of course, we can totally envision that given the comfort that she still displays on the stage today. August 2010, you moved on to the 3rd grade and Millie joined your class. There was still work going on campus, and unfortunately in Macby House, the dormant underground rodent population was disturbed. Ms. Moody thought someone, maybe faculty working late or the cleaning crew, was stealing candy from her desk as her supply seemed to dwindle overnight. She had Mr. Bork set up a hidden camera, only to catch the midnight escapades of some very large mice eating her chocolates. This was the year of the great lice epidemic. I know it felt traumatic, but certainly pales in comparison to the real pandemic that we face today. Every day you had to go to either Mrs. Slay or the nurse to have your head checked, and you would enthusiastically deem those who returned to class and did not get sent home as the survivors. Then you would grab the Lysol wipes to clean off the empty desks of the infected classmates who had to leave school for treatment. Someone's parent even made stickers that say, "Knits Happen 2011. There's still one on the gator today. All kidding aside, as you know, we're moving into another Lysol wipes era with all of us who will be on educational campuses in the fall. Adelaide was chosen by Mrs. Newton to help with being an ambassador because she loved to show off her school and the school her mother attended to, which she proclaimed with pride. She was the ace deputy. In 4th grade, Belle joined your class. You were the seniors of the lower school. You were allowed finally to have rolling backpacks, and although they were a total pain to haul up the steps in Pardue Hall, you had to be cool and dared not complain. The new dining commons was constructed during this time, and Pierce was renovated for classroom space, forcing the entire student body to eat lunch under tents spread across the grounds. We'll be doing some of that this year, too. You were one of the first groups to go to Camp St. Christopher, and you took 3 trips to Drayton Hall to learn about archaeology and the Revolutionary War. And you got to apprentice for either a carpenter, a stonemason, or a bricklayer to help you better understand the trades of the 1700s. You read the novel Fever 1793. It was a book about the yellow fever epidemic in Philadelphia in the summer of 1793 that killed 5,000 people. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a theme here with this class. You spent your intermediate school years of grades 5 and 6 in Lane Hall under the guidance of Ms. Ruggiero. The class of 2020 welcomed no one new as a 5th grader. You had real lockers, not cubbies, for the first time. What a production it was on orientation day to bring all the materials to decorate that special space. You used chandeliers, rugs, and wallpaper. And what an ordeal it was to clean it all out at the end of the year, finding all kinds of lost goodies at the bottom of a heap of half-dirty sweatshirts and empty but still food-encrusted Tupperware containers. You gained the privilege of wearing non-athletic shoes. You learned that you were either purple or white, and that distinction will last you for the rest of your life. In the spring of your 5th grade year, 2012, the entire school was involved in the filming of a lip sync to This Girl Is on Fire. Remember Adelaide leading the camera through all of the science classrooms in Jenkins? In the fall of 2013, Annika and Millie returned to Ashley Hall to begin 6th grade along with new students Mackenzie and Lauren. Belle circulated a petition to be able to wear socks with insignia on them. It didn't pass, but she got every girl in the upper school to sign it. But you all wore us down so much that we capitulated in the dress code for this school year. In fact, have any of us worn socks since March? You buried your time capsule, the contents of which you got back in May. I certainly miss laughing and reminiscing with you as you rediscovered the treasures you had tucked away. It was in 6th grade, too, that you could begin to compete interscholastically within SCISA. Meg qualified for the SCISA State Track and Field Championship in the 3,200-meter race and had the wonderful experience of being congratulated and acknowledged by the older girls who shared in her accomplishment. Do you realize now, as you remember those kinds of times, just how important is the love and support you have given to our younger students as you have gone through this upper school? Midori's memory of that track season was a little different. In the discus competition, she had to go up against Raven Saunders, former Olympian. It was a bit intimidating, to say the least. By the end of 6th grade in 2014, 50% of you seniors sitting here today were together as a class. In August 2014, you entered upper school as rambunctious, dorky, awkward 7th graders. Riley and Nancy became your classmates. You moved over to Jenkins. You loved hanging out on the Blue Hills whenever you could. May they rest in peace. In morning meeting, you had to sit at the back of the auditorium, but you had a great team of teachers who were helping you make the transition into upper school. Mrs. Webb told great stories about law and kept your interest in history strong because of her anecdotes. You made body books. You had the traditional and perhaps infamous sex education talks by Dr. Hamilton. As a class, you horsed around and had fun, too. Margaret, Elizabeth, and Meg began their 6-year career on the cross-country team, finishing this year along with the retirement of their beloved coach, Gail Bailey. Can you believe she was my Ashley Hall basketball coach, too? How special is that? Into 8th grade in August 2015, you greeted new classmates Sophia, Snowy, and Key. They, along with other boarding upperclassmen, moved into the newly completed Elizabeth House at 179 Rutledge Avenue. But oh, the challenges of this new home. Snowy, Key, and Sophia on the first night were having a raging karaoke party, and Snowy opened the door to go outside by mistake, thinking it was the bathroom. It was 2 a.m., and the blaring alarm roused everyone. In the fall, Ashley Hall staged your good man, Charlie Brown, with Adelaide, Nancy, Meredith, Derazette, and Millie as cast members. Don't you just love the Peanuts characters and also the theme of that show? It's as relevant today as it was when it was written in 1967 and when you performed it at Ashley Hall. In the words of Charlie Brown, and I quote, "It's all about trying your best and making the most of the things you've been given in life," end quote. In May, the soccer team went to the Skeesa State semifinals for the first time in school history. Annika, Mackenzie, Maura, and Sarah were part of that effort. The best part of the win, however, was Mr. Muti shaving his head. He says his hair has thinned too much to be able to do that again. And was that the same soccer season that Mr. Simpson, out at practice at the Johns Island Fields, caught one of the moles that was wreaking havoc, building tunnels underground, stuck it in his pocket, and it bit him? In August 2016, your class was ushered into the final 4 years of high school. As freshmen, you were joined by Morgan, Ashley, Austin, Waverly, Hannah, Emma, Jillian, Margaret, Helen, Jenny, Stephanie, and Mia. Mrs. Schweers recalls fondly helping to admit all of you girls who were new, although she especially remembers Jillian for her quote-unquote impeccable manners, something Mrs. Schweers says is always a standout to her. Jillian, she says she still has the note of thanks that you wrote her after your visit. Now, I hope all of you seniors have developed that same habit of being faithful writers of thank you notes. It will take you a long way. As freshmen, you began to build that transcript that was sent just a few months back to your colleges and universities. And you were building friendships with all the new girls who had joined your class. Reese and Meredith convinced Margaret that Meredith was half Amish. Apparently, Reese also convinced Derazette that Steph Curry was her first cousin. I don't think I realized that Reese was such a jokester. Mrs. Russler and Mr. Moody taught you humanities, and you staged a Renaissance fair. Mr. Moody gave you difficult readings on which to harness, but he also helped as he gave his classroom lectures by saying to you in his Italian accent that you so loved, "Now highlight this." Olivia and Meredith had so much fun making tiramisu the last day of class that they stayed late for more than 30 minutes, laughing with their teachers and friends while continuing to make wonderful Ashley Hall memories. Mackenzie, Olivia, Annika, Meredith, Meg, and Caden were part of the first Amalthea trip. You eventually got to Sicily after an aborted plane flight due to a flooding bathroom and numerous rebooks. Many of you had an unexpected 36 hours in New York City, being walked miles briskly by Mr. Muti, who was trying to get you to Little Italy, he said, past some painted naked ladies in Times Square. Others of you, or even some of the same, had a vicious stomach virus that you then passed on to Mount Etna that erupted just as you were flying away. It was a trip for the record books. The athletics teams had a great year. Cross country won the state championship with Jillian, Lauren, Meg, Elizabeth, and Margaret offering great support. Archery was a state runner-up with Midori, Millie, Jenny, and Snowy helping as high scorers. So was the golf team a runner-up with Austin on the roster as a strong contributor. Tennis took a championship behind some of Emma's strong play. In the arts arena, you staged Cafe Carousel as a benefit for My Sister's House. Bringing together strings, theater, and choir in a special production, you were treated to the talents of Adelaide, Tolly, Belle, and Millie. And there were other noteworthy performances too. The Alliance for Young Artists and Writers recognized Derazette and Snowy with silver keys for their beautifully executed drawings of horses, and Key for her stunning photography within a Buddhist college. As sophomores, you added Annie and Christy Lee to your class. You learned geometry and applied your knowledge to design quilts for the neonatal intensive care unit in MUSC. Mr. Vatter's class provided you an introduction to a CNN anchor. You also had much fun playing pranks on him, shame on you. Like the time he came to his classroom to find his desk wrapped in diapers that were intended for the NICU. Remember how he dressed up as Burger King for Halloween and brought hamburgers for everybody? It was the year of the Movement Initiative, and you danced in French and Spanish and English. Misty was one of your favorites. Snowy, Elizabeth, and Belle were the three youngest members of the Offshore Leadership Program that sailed in the fall, but they represented the sophomore class beautifully. Varsity swimming finished third in the Skeesa State Championships with strong contributions from Charlotte, Olivia, and Maura. You staged Honk the Musical in the fall and A Midsummer Night's Dream in the spring to the delight of audiences. Christy Lee, Mia, Key, Millie, and Belle sang, acted, and spoke the Bard's language beautifully. You branched out in taking electives. Austin, in particular, loved watching big dog videos in Mr. Simpson's robotics class. For those of us who have not taken that class, it seems that Big Dog is a robot designed to carry heavy military supplies through various conditions. Apparently, one clip featured a hysterically funny rendition of Big Dog carrying supplies over uneven terrain, ice and snow, slipping and sliding and looking like something that would come out of the zombie apocalypse. You worked your way through chemistry labs, OPIs conducted in the Jenkins hallway, and ODPs. Millie enthralled all in her French classes with her dramatic readings of any text, livening up everything from poetry to recipes. Apparently, everyone loved listening to her reincarnate both the creepy pastor and the smooth-foreheaded Jacques. Well done, ladies. In your 11th grade year, Taylor and Lorna joined you, and the class of 2020 was 100% complete. You welcomed both of these girls with open arms and made them feel comfortable, even though they were changing schools so late in their high school journey. They remember fondly your kindness that's still evident today. Morgan, Margaret, Stephanie, Lauren, Maura, Waverly, Nancy, and Riley traveled with Dr. Davis on the Liberty Clipper, and they had wonderful adventures, plus a few misadventures, like a broken boom that set them into a frenzy, and seems like there was also a need to anchor off a Cape Lookout to allow a storm to pass. Meanwhile, at home in October, our fall sports teams did well in competition again. The tennis team, with Lorna and Adelaide's involvement, won the state championship, sealing the victory with a rain-delayed 1 point that needed to be played on a Sunday morning in Sumter. The varsity volleyball team took a tough match from Portugal, winning the state championship for volleyball for the first time in 8 years in front of a packed house of screaming fans at the College of Charleston Arena. Sarah was noted in the press for getting in 21 digs. That's pretty impressive. Ashley Hall staged Beehive, and Tolly, Belle, Millie, and Mia belted out timeless hits from the 60s. That's my era. I loved it. Your junior year was marked by some of your most favorite memories. Panther Party, I know you call it Kidnap, but we're trying to get away from that name. Banquet and prom, getting your Ashley Hall rings, the Christmas play, moving over into the Warren Street Learning Studios, the 110th celebration of the school and Crescendo, and drama in third period free. How about Emma's fabulous tennis season, one of the highlights of which was the Volvo Open, where many of us gathered to cheer our local hero? While Emma's favorite memory is having the worst attendance record in the history of Ashley Hall, which she did, we know that what she was doing when she wasn't here was nothing short of amazing. We're proud of all she's accomplished in her sport of tennis. Celie had her most embarrassing moment at Ashley Hall as a junior. Admitting to being terrified to being on stage, she found herself totally frozen during the Panther Party skits. Despite having memorized every dance step in the routine she was to perform, 20 seconds in, her mind went blank, and all she could do was to dance in place with the most shocked, embarrassed look on her face. She claims it was the most mortifying moment of her life. But look, she bounced back. Do you remember the dreidel dance and the Hanukkah onesie that she did just this past December holiday season? But wait, I've gotten ahead of myself. Senior year finally arrived, and you have continued to make more memories. You were the rulers of Shell House and Senior Lawn. You declared your theme. We got that 2020 vision. You were the first class to have to take senior seminar if you weren't in senior project, and to be offered courses in dystopian and apocalyptic literature. This just feels so prophetic of the spring and summer that we have all had. You were the first class to build a house. Well, partially. I think you may have also been the first class to literally swim in the Senior Lawn Lake, the huge backed up rain puddle that now forms after a downpour. Ashley and Lorna remember fondly the day that Maura and Darazette put on bathing suits to take a dip. Certainly you were an integral part of another first, Tater Tot Mageddon. You all led the way in the upper school's shameful consumption of over 300 pounds of tater tots in that infamous lunch in October. There are other great memories of senior year that I understand you have. Fragrant food in the Shell House. Annie's pet peeve, and I can bet it's fragrant in there right now as it hasn't really been opened since March. You have videos of mishaps like Meredith's botched handstand at track practice, or Savannah's falling over Lachlan in the middle of a volleyball game, or Elizabeth's and Margaret's riding of their suitcases in the Charleston airport and crashing when they pushed off a little too hard. Your fall was filled with many special traditional events: pep rallies, big sister, little sister activities, Shakora gift-giving assembly, college applications, Christmas play, and a memorable production of Annie Jr. with Nancy, Belle, Millie, and Mia, who made it back just in time from quarantine in China to rehearse and perform. And then the spring that will never be forgotten. How difficult this has been, and how proud we are for the way you've walked through the days since you were last physically on this campus. While you were lonely and disappointed some, I trust you will hold in your hearts the college t-shirt extravaganza and the May 24th car parade. Even though the physical audience here today is minimal, remember who was part of all of those celebrations and know that you are much loved and respected. Even though you've been busy and perhaps stretched thin at times, I'll bet you feel tonight as though those years have simply flown by. Over your time at Ashley Hall, you shared your gifts of laughter, song, poetry, music, art, athleticism, and generosity. 31% of you who have relatives who are or have been Ashley Hall girls. 81% of you have participated on an athletic team and have been great role models for younger students. Austin and Meredith, golf. Adelaide, Nancy, Lorna, and Emma, tennis. Charlotte, Olivia, and Maura, swimming. Margaret, Meg, Jillian, Lauren, and Elizabeth, cross country. Riley, sailing. Morgan, Celie, and Belle, basketball. Annie, Mackenzie, Morgan, Ashley, Annika, Christy Lee, Maura, Waverly, Celie, Sarah, Darazette, Meredith, and Riley, soccer. Morgan, Tolly, Sarah, Riley, and Savannah, volleyball. Taylor, lacrosse. Midori, Ashley, Reese, Millie, Jenny, Snowy, and Mia, archery. And Midori, Elizabeth, Meg, Margaret, Lauren, and Reese, track and field. You have been members of our choirs and performing arts groups. Sophia, Adelaide, Christy Lee, Lorna, Nancy, Meredith, Tolly, Belle, Darazette, Millie, Key, and Mia. And you were the largest class represented in this year's annual Christmas play. Such a special tradition. Sophia, Key, Adelaide, and Nancy singing solos. Belle, the mother angel, and Austin and Millie speaking angels. Meredith as Mary. And the heavenly host of Annika, Olivia, Morgan, Riley, Savannah, Waverly, Christy Lee, Meg, Zoe, Margaret, Taylor, Darazette, Midori, Reese, Elizabeth, Austin, Mia, Sarah, Maura, Caden, and Mackenzie. That's 74% of you who've performed on stage, not even counting what you did for Panther Party. You've also been part of campus organizations. You've traveled extensively with your school. You have taken full advantage of all that this school, now your alma mater, has to offer. Overall, class of 2020 at Ashley Hall, you 42 seniors have excelled in all aspects of school and community life. And you have other wonderful talents too. I understand Taylor can pick up things with her toes. Millie can get rid of hiccups on command. Austin is a great water bottle dropper and is gifted at catching grapes in her mouth. Nancy can sing every country in the world, and Adelaide can recite the ABCs backwards really, really fast. Helen speaks Japanese and Korean in addition to English and Chinese. Hannah knows Morse code. Stephanie is a whiz at classics. Zoe can flip a coin on her elbow. Sarah can do French rap like nobody's business. And Waverly demonstrated she was a great and effective student body leader. And she reminds you in her submission in the acanthus for this year that you are not defined by a piece of paper and that it's all right not to be perfect and it's okay to cry sometime. It really is okay to cry sometime. It's totally normal right now that you are filled with a range of emotions. So are we all, especially given what we've all been through. I trust you know that the two most important groups of people who are not physically here, but who have walked beside you in your journey, are so proud of you. First, your faculty and coaches. You must know the passion they have for what they teach and coach, and more importantly, the beautiful and open hearts they've offered to you. I mean, where else will you find teachers preparing hours for a pep rally dance through the decades or an everything's gonna be all right production like you got this spring or the Advice to Seniors video that was released in May? And then secondly, your parents. They have invested heavily in your future by enrolling you here, and they have sent a powerful message that they believe in your capability and that they want the best for you. It's every parent's dream and wish. Don't forget to thank them when you go home. Class of 2020, I want to leave you with a charge. So girls, as I call your name, please stand and remain standing for your charge, which I have taken from the blessing offered earlier by Dr. Christensen. I intend to call every one of you, so if you are not present but you're watching at home, please stand also. Sarah, Annika, Mackenzie, Jenny, Reese, Annie, Austin, Hannah, Jillian, Snowy, Lorna, Midori, Savannah, Key, Tolly, Christy Lee, Charlotte, Elizabeth, Caden, Riley, Belle, Zoe, Stephanie, Nancy, Sophia, Adelaide, Lauren, Darazette, Mia, Millie, Helen, Maura, Celie, Margaret, Emma, Meredith, Ashley, Morgan, Taylor, Olivia, Waverly, Meg. Here's your charge. When you feel yourself becoming overwhelmed by what you do not know or cannot control, when you feel small, alone, or simply stymied by the overwhelming enormity of the universe, choose to see boundless possibility in uncertainty. Your lives and journeys are fibers in an infinite tapestry whose patterns are woven on a loom of uncertainty. May all of you allow yourselves to be wrapped in this tapestry, to take comfort in your interconnection, to find opportunity in what you do not know, and through the blessing of uncertainty to create and to commence. You may be seated. Class of 2020, you have been blessed with a fine education. You are a valued member of a community that loves you and believes in your ability to accomplish whatever you set your heart and mind to. Borrowing from Savannah's wisdom that she shared with her little sister, quote, "Take it all in." Ashley Hall is a pretty special place. You make friends that will last you a lifetime, and the memories you will have forever. Godspeed, ladies, as you journey forth from Ashley Hall. So now this is what you've all been looking forward to the most. The time to present our diplomas and alumni pins. Meredith Camille McCarty. Susanna Boone Taylor. Caden Grace Smith, in absentia. Celie Daniela Feldman. Charlotte Elizabeth Clark. Whoop. Zoe Camille Sutton. Midori Yanagita Baker. Adelaide Ingram Harper. Jane Derazette Thompson. Reese Townsend Terry. Olivia Catherine Cox. Sarah Beck Smith. Margaret Elizabeth McElwain. Maura Elizabeth Mooney.
I did it, Mom!
Tollison Marie Rossell. Elizabeth Weldon Barano. Jingyi Wu, Jenny Wu, in absentia. Mackenzie Catherine Brady. Ashley Liseth Garcia, in absentia. Shichu Chen Yu, Snowy Yu, in absentia. Morgan Victoria Davis. Taylor Elizabeth Jenkins. Isabel Evelyn Shields. Margaret Roseborough O'Kelly. Lorna Chamonix Milani. Jillian Mary Nyland. Oh yeah, take that. Emma Darby Navarro. Yayan Zhao, Stephanie Zhao, in absentia. Annie Rose Allardyce. Xinging Dong, Sophia Dong, in absentia. Annika Marin Kernan. Christina Lee Kirkland. No, you did not. Perfect. You got it, girl.
Mom, I hope you're watching. Greatest achievement of my life.
Christy Lee. Millicent Charlotte Wellborn. Riley Elizabeth Turner. Congratulations. Joshua Ya, Mia Ya, in absentia. Lauren Ashley Penny. Waverly Leilani Creamer. Chi Dong, Ki Dong, in absentia. Hannah Zelda Lipschitz, in absentia. Alice Austin Givens. Here you go. Got it, girl. And last, but not at all least, Nancy Cornelia Karen Kirkman. No way. I present to you the class of 2020 at Ashley Hall. Ladies, please stand and recognize one another as we here and at home applaud your great work and accomplishments. You may toss your a rose. Okay, please be seated. Each of you in your program or your chair has a mask. These are the times, you know, so we're going to place those on in anticipation of our procession. Class of 2020, may you go forth and make much of your lives strengthened by the challenges that you face now and in the future. Ashley Hall wishes to you its most sincere blessing now, as sung by Mrs. Clarkson.